Bobby Norris, welcome to Acting Prime Minister. People might think they've got a bit of an idea about you already, but how often do you kind of sit down and chat politics?
Do you know, I'll be really honest with you, it's never really been, and as bad as this sounds, it's never been anything I've really understood that much about. I think it's always been quite intimidating to me, politics. Like, I've never thought that I could keep on top of it, and like, the Brexit thing just blows my mind. I still don't fully understand it.
You're not alone on that one.
Which makes me feel a little bit better. And, you know, ironically, it's not until I've started kind of doing a petition and stuff like that I've kind of started to think, do you know, actually, politics, one way or another, affects all of us.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping moving forward that I'm going to try and learn a little bit more about it. And, yeah, maybe I found a whole new me.
Do you vote? Have you tended to vote in the past, or?
I have, but now, like I say, I feel like I know. I was voting from kind of what I was told or what I'd heard from people, whereas now I feel like I've got more of a sense of, and moving forward, I want to learn more, and I feel like it's actually really important, and everyone's vote really does matter, because whoever has got that position and is in power, ultimately, is going to affect all of us. So it's really important for everyone to use their vote.
So do you kind of feel that you know roughly where you are now politically? Like, are you more of a Theresa May or a Jeremy Corbyn type of person?
Do you know, I think the way that everything is with the whole Brexit thing, it's probably a really weird way to come into trying to understand politics, because it's just so confusing, and every day I hear something different, whether it's on the news or online in papers and stuff. So I think when this kind of all blows over, if it ever blows over, the Brexit thing, it will be a better indication for me to kind of understand. But I feel like the more parties that are coming out, and I think the confusing thing about it is, and the conflicting thing is, that each party might have something that you agree with, but also something that you don't, and then the same with the opposition. So it's very hard. I suppose you've got to weigh it all up and think, as a whole, who's going to represent me the best.
Yeah. Where would you normally kind of lend your vote? Would it be Labour or Conservative or?
Labour. I feel like I've always been a kind of a Labour kind of guy.
Is that because your family are Labour or your friends are Labour or?
I just think growing up and from what I'd consider just an absolute normal kind of working class family and area, that it's always just been, Labour's always kind of what I've been growing up and heard people speaking about. And I think sometimes you inherit what you hear other people talk about.
It's true, yeah.
But so much has changed lately, isn't it? And there just seems more parties than ever that there's ever been. So there's another vote coming up soon, isn't there?
There are the European elections coming up. Yeah. So
the European one.
Yeah. So this is to elect MPs to the European Parliament.
But what happens if we do come out of the Brexit thing? Does that then go out the window?
So the Prime Minister's still hoping that even though we're going through with the elections, these MPs, MEPs as they're known, won't actually have to take their seats, because she'll finish with Brexit before they've even got a chance to get there.
So this is like a formality?
It is kind of like a formality that she never really wanted to do, the Prime Minister, but because Brexit's been delayed by so much, she thought, right, well, we'll have to go through these European elections now, but I'm still determined, because there's like a 2-month delay between them being elected and them actually taking their seats.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, about a 6-week delay. So she's still hoping she can rush it through and say, right, you don't need to go after all to Brussels. So that's the plan.
But nothing's set in stone yet. Does it all depend on what happens with the deal or the no deal?
Exactly. So there's a vote in June which is probably Theresa May's last chance to try and get a Brexit deal through. If that goes through, then we might not see MEPs take their seats. If the deal doesn't go through, then most people think they probably will still go and take their seats, because it's going to take a lot longer to sort out.
See, I'm getting quite an education. This is what
anything else you want to ask me, Bob?
No, I'm going to have to every week. I'm going to be like, what's the latest? Should you explain it in an easy way
Anytime.
for me?
Watch ITV News as well, and you get a free bit every night, a free nugget of information.
Always love a bit of ITV news.
Anyway, Bobby, look, you wanted to come on the podcast for a reason, and that's because actually there is a very specific way that you want to change the law. So if we imagine that you're Prime Minister now, we've made you Prime Minister for the next half an hour, what is it that you would just love to achieve?
My main thing, if I could be Prime Minister for half an hour, would be to kind of make this online homophobia a crime. Like, I can't believe the hatred and the vileness of people on social media. And I think, now I'm not here to bash social media. I love it. I love my Instagrams. I love my Twitters, etc. However, it's got so big in the last few years, And in defence of the people that are running these companies, I think it's probably very hard to kind of manage and police hate as a whole and trolling. But there seems to be no repercussion. It's so easy for someone to have their account suspended or deleted. They can just open another one in a matter of minutes. There's no way authenticating that it's actually them. It's not registered really anywhere. And for me, I mean, I'm 32. I've got a thicker skin. I've been in the industry for 8 years, and I can kind of take it with a pinch of salt, even though I'd be lying if I sat here and said it doesn't hurt me sometimes. Of course, I'm human. I've got feelings. But I know if I was a teenager and I was getting that, which so many people are, like since starting like Bobby's Bill and doing my petition, I've had so many messages from parents and people in the same boat. And that's who I'm doing this for now, because there's some people that haven't got a voice, haven't got a platform. And for me, do you know, if I can use that and help one person, job done.
Yeah, because you've had a lot of comments, haven't you, yourself? And I know you say you've got a thick skin, but what are the kind of things that people have been saying to you online?
Oh, just absolute violence, like to the point as extreme as I'm actually waking up now and getting death threats. But the irony is, it wasn't until I started the petition that it become as bad as it was. And I kind of think people, they're in their last ditch of kind of thinking, oh, he's trying to actually do something about it. They know that I'm in Parliament again on the 1st of July for my debate. And I think this is kind of like, they're all a little bit freaked out about it. So it's actually getting worse. But people say to me, things will always get worse before they get better.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just want to be able to help people out there. And again, it's not even just the teenagers that are getting it, all walks of life, all ages. And it's not even just a homophobic thing. Trolling as a whole is just out of hand. And I think mental health is getting bigger and bigger. And social media is getting bigger and bigger. And I'm no psychologist, but I would say there's got to be some kind of connection in there. So many people are looking at the likes of Instagram and people living their best lives and thinking, oh, my life isn't that great. And no one really understands what goes on behind a picture. So I completely get that trolling as a whole is absolutely, it's just wrong. But for me, my petition has been about the homophobic side, because if I was on Oxford Street and was said half of the things that are said to me online, there would be some kind of law in place, there would be some kind of action. Like, you can't run around Selfridges throwing death threats to someone, do you know what I mean?
No. And people would never come up to you in the street and say something to your face, or very rarely would someone say something homophobic to your face, would they? But
never.
For some reason we think online it's more acceptable. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think people have the bravery that they're hiding behind a keyboard, they can't be seen. And I just think, do you know what? The most important thing is for people, just be kind. Like, life's hard enough. Like, let's just be kind to each other.
I mean, I know, again, you said you've got a thick skin, but for anyone who's LGBT, you know, those kind of comments do take us back to dark places, don't they? When we're being told that you're wrong or you're unnatural or you deserve to die. I mean, it takes you back to that place when you're first coming to terms with your sexuality and you're really quite scared about it. And so does it really kind of get to you when you see people saying these things?
It does, because it's getting progressively worse. So I had one the other day and it was like, oh, it's Adam and Eve, it's not Adam and Steve. And then there's, like I say, it was the death threats. And then, yeah, I've been told that I should go and burn in a fire and die. To the point, it's not even bad enough that you're just wishing me dead. You're actually deciding how I die, which I kind of find odd. I've had a couple of, and again, it's always so specific. Like, there's one person that wants to stab me with an 11-inch knife. And then this morning I woke up and it's an 8-inch machete. So they're actually deciding the weapon, the amount of inches it is. And I'm kind of thinking, where do we draw the line here that this just isn't right? And I think me speaking out, trying to help people, is actually winding people up to the point that they want to keep coming for me. But I'm now calling them out. I'm screen grabbing it, I'm putting it on Instagram to show that it's not just other people out there that are getting this. I wake up and I get that. So people aren't alone.
Do you think that there's a specific way then to kind of tackle this in the law? Is there something that could be done that you think might crack it?
This is, like, in terms of how it's policed and managed, I'm not sat here saying let's throw everyone in prison for sending a tweet or an Instagram comment, because obviously prisons are stretched as they are, and that's just not a realistic thing. But I just think in terms of even how social media accounts are started and opened, they're kind of anonymous. Like, you're just relying on someone's email address, which someone can just start a new email address again in 3 minutes. They can just go onto certain websites, get a new email address, and then they're never traceable. So I kind of think if people had to put in some form of identification to even get social media, they'd be held a little bit more accountable for it. Or like a system where maybe like it's monitored. If you do troll someone, that flags up. And again, I appreciate it's a really hard thing to kind of manage, but I just think when you're getting messages from parents that children are attempting to take their own lives, and some have taken their own lives solely because of online trolling, to me, that's something needs to be done. There shouldn't be people out there taking their lives because they're being sent abuse online.
Okay, let's talk about what kind of Prime Minister you'd be aside from this.
Yeah.
What do you think your mission would be as Prime Minister generally? What would be the big sell that Bobby Norris would put out there as Prime Minister?
I think I'd be the first Prime Minister to rock skinny jeans. Do you know what I mean?
Walking up Downing Street into
yeah,
number 10.
Louis Vuitton on my arm, skinny jeans, pair of Yeezys or a pair of red bottoms. No, for me, I think that ultimately, no one is born evil or with hate. So I think we need to look at education, how people are taught at school to know what's right and what's wrong. That's really important. So I would really look at that. I would look at, as I say, social media and hatred and just people being accepting. Like, acceptance is a massive thing.
Yeah.
And then I think also our healthcare could have a little bit of a sort out. I feel like the NHS, bless them, are under it. And like nurses, I've had family that have been in hospital having cancer treatment, and they're so amazing, the nurses. They're doing 12-hour shifts. I'd like them to be rewarded a little bit more. But again, I'm very aware that the pot's only so deep, so there's only so much that we can do. But it's little things like that. I think, I'd bring to the table change.
Yeah.
And be the first gay Prime Minister. It's needed.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Break that barrier.
Yes.
Break that rainbow ceiling.
If Teresa's leaving, I'll move in. I mean, I went down the street a couple of weeks ago to hand my petition in. Didn't actually get to step foot into the house, but I still went and I got a selfie with Larry on the doorstep, so I mean goals.
Yeah.
But I could get used to living round there.
It's not a bad postcode to live in, is it?
I mean, probably the best.
And who would you love to have in your cabinet? You can have anyone you like. It doesn't have to be a politician. I mean, is there someone from TOWIE that you'd want to have in there?
Oh, I think I'd have to have Attenborough.
David Attenborough?
Yeah.
Do you know what? A lot of people say that,
Do they?
It's really, I think with all the climate change discussion that's going on at the moment, the real concern about the environment, a lot of people say David Attenborough. So it's obviously something that matters to you too, the environment.
Oh, the environment's everything. I'm very aware that if we don't look after that, it might not be our lifetimes, but eventually this is going to not be good for future people to come. And I could sit and listen to him all day long, whether he's talking about things on land, in the sea. I mean, I don't even like the sea, and I'll listen to him talking about stuff. And I think he's got that authoritative kind of voice and figure, so it would absolutely be on my payroll.
Yeah. Do you reckon there's anyone from TOWIE that you'd have in there?
Who would I have from TOWIE?
Gemma as Chancellor. Do you think she's good with the maths?
Do you know what? Actually, she's a very good businesswoman, so she'd be good to run the finance section. Yeah, Gemma with the finances.
And you'd have some pressing issues on your desk, obviously, as Prime Minister. You'd have some things that you need to sort out, whether you were particularly interested in them or not. Brexit, for example, do you think you'd go ahead with Brexit, or would you want to remain in the EU? Where are you at on Brexit?
This is the really hard thing for me, because I feel that when people vote, and how it was put to us, from what I believe, was that people was told once whatever the vote is what we're sticking to. So as a voting, what's the word called? Voting generation. As voting people, if people have put themselves out to go and vote for something and been assured that if this is the vote, that's what we're going to stick to, and because some people might not have liked the outcome of it, that they've delayed it and slowed it down. So that I completely get, and part of me really thinks, we have to honour the original thing. But the flip side of the coin is so many people have now said if they knew what was going to happen, they wouldn't have even bothered saying to vote out, because it's actually, especially if there's this no deal thing, it could end up being worse. And I think Brexit wasn't really sold to people in the true light. I think that people didn't realise we'd be where we are 2 or 3 years down the line. And it's a really hard one. So I feel for Teresa, I really do. But I'd have to say, and or not, I kind of think we have to we have to go with what the original vote was.
Yeah, you don't think there should be a second referendum? Some people want a second referendum.
But then where do you draw the line if we do a second referendum and then it's the same outcome? Do we then say, should we do a third one?
Yeah.
But then I think what we need to know is how many people would have changed their mind from their original votes. And if that's a really high number, yeah, we should do a second one.
Which world leader would you love to talk to, do you think?
Oh, I'd have to have a little phone call with Trump.
Would you?
I mean, we're both from the reality world, and I mean, there's no one quite like Donald Trump, is there? So I'd have to send him a little WhatsApp and say, look, Bobby's in Downing Street now. I'm on the firm and I'm running the country. We should have a little FaceTime. Yeah, I think I'd be quite intrigued to just have a conversation and see where his head's at, because there's something about him that.
Do you follow him on Twitter?
Do you know, I don't know.
Oh,
is he worth a follow?
Yeah, of course he is. Yeah, he loves putting out a tweet at 3 a.m.
Oh, does he?
US time, yeah. You know, mouthing off about something. So he's, you know.
Oh, I might have to follow him.
Yeah, you know, he's not scared to put his opinions out there, Bob, I'll tell you.
No, well, this is it. And I mean, you don't get to be president and by being shy and retiring.
No.
And love him or hate him, he's definitely, as we say, well, we all talk about him. And like I say, he's almost become one of them fascinating people that you never know what he's going to say or do next.
And you mentioned reality TV. Obviously, there's been a lot in the news about that lately because of the Jeremy Kyle show.
Yeah.
And Steve Diamond, who was a contestant on the show, who took his own life. And actually, there have been contestants on Love Island as well who've gone on to take their own lives. Do you think there's a kind of enough support for people like you who go on these reality shows?
I mean, putting it out there, from what I know of Jeremy Kyle, I've met him, he's only ever been lovely. And I actually feel sad that the show's ended, because I feel like it's such a massive part of, like, even if you're waking up and subconsciously it's just on the TV in the corner and you can just hear it. Like, 15 years is a long time, so I do feel for Jeremy. In terms of the reality TV thing, I can only really speak on what I've found. And for me, the shows I've done, and TOWIE is predominantly the longest one I've done for 8 years, I've had nothing but support. I have a psychiatrist's number on my phone and I can call him at any time. We have regular chats, regular meetings face to face. So I've never ever not had support. Obviously, I've never done Love Island, I can't speak for that, but I feel as a whole ITV's duty of care is very good. And TOWIE has been very good as well. So, I mean, it's heartbreaking when you hear these things. But I think it's maybe a little bit harsh to blame it just on reality TV.
Do you see other people who go on these shows? Because you know, obviously, you've got friends who go on TOWIE and you move in those circles. Do you see other people kind of being affected by the spotlight? Is it quite a lot to deal with?
I think it takes a certain person to be able to work it in the industry, because you have to have, and going back to earlier about having a thicker skin, you have to be able to accept people's judgment and comments of you. If you're putting yourself out there on telly, someone's always going to have an opinion, especially the way social media is now. That is just the way of the world. And some people can cope with that and some people can't. And it's down to people being looked after and speaking about their feelings. And the minute they feel that they're not okay, people need to speak out. And I feel there's still so much shame people feel by saying they're not okay. And it's great people are speaking more and more about mental health, but we've still got a long way to go. Like the numbers of male suicide just is shocking, and something needs to be done. But the more we can all speak about it and say, do you know what, it's okay to not be okay.
Let's have some fun questions now to finish off. So, what would your song be, do you think, as Prime Minister? Quite often they'll play it at party conference when you do your big speech of the year. They'll play a little song.
Oh, do they play a little song for you?
You come on stage to a big number. Theresa May did ABBA, Dancing Queen, because you know she's...
Oh, I feel I saw that went viral, didn't it?
Moves to it.
I'd say something, probably Spice Girls.
Yeah.
Got to be done. That was iconic. I mean, I love a bit of the Spice Girls. So anything on their back catalogue.
Bit of like a Zigga Zigga or something.
Absolutely, yeah. Bang the Spice Girls out. I'll rock out, have a little jig.
Where do you reckon you go on holiday as Prime Minister? Because they love getting those snaps. Bit of Marbs.
Oh, either Marbs or I love a bit of Mykonos. Maybe Mykonos, yeah. Because it's a lovely backdrop. Yeah, it looked lovely in the pap shots. Yeah.
In your loafers with your shorts on. What do you think is the scandal that might bring you down as Prime Minister?
Probably some of the swimwear choices that I've had to wear over the years on TOWIE. Yeah, probably the red certain item that I wore once in Marbella.
I think I know which one you're
I'm
talking
sure
about.
that one would get brought up again.
And do you think you'd have any? You have had some cosmetic surgery, haven't you? Do you think you'd have any more as Prime Minister? Do you think you'd you'd need it, or you'd feel like?
I think the big thing for me about cosmetic surgery is do what makes you feel good and what you want to do, and as long as someone's doing it for them and they're not feeling pressured from other people, it doesn't matter if you're Prime Minister or just working a 9 till 5. So do it for the right reasons. For me personally, there's nothing more I can think of at the moment. And that's not to say in 10 years I want to have a cheeky facelift, I might want a little nip and a tweak. But as for now...
That's your prerogative.
Oh, completely. But as it stands, if I get the phone call and Downing Street's empty, I'll be on the phone to Pickford's and I'll walk in looking like this. I won't even have a blow dry before. I'll go natural.
Believe it when I see it. Not even a blow dry, yeah, right.
Maybe a spray tan and a blow dry.
Oh, all right, then, go on then. You've got to make an effort. Prime Minister now.
Yeah.
And lastly, do you think you'd ever like to go into politics and get involved a bit more? I mean, you've got the taste for campaigning now.
I have got a bit of a taste for it now, and I feel like rocking up to Downing Street and going to Houses of Parliament and to be going back there again in a few weeks. I do feel like, do you know what? If I could learn more about it and if I make this change, especially with my petition, and I realise actually how important this whole thing is, yeah, never say never.
Yeah, so you might maybe you could start out as like a local councillor or something.
Is that how you start out?
Some people do, yeah. They start out like council level, do a bit of local politics, work their way up to MP maybe, and then think about it.
So how many years roughly till I could move into Downing Street? While?
Well, I mean, if you're really on a fast track, it might be about 10 years.
Oh, so it's a while.
Yeah, it's a long investment.
Oh, it's a commitment.
Yeah, maybe stick with TV.
Yeah,
you're doing well at TV, I mean.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, so yeah, never rule it out, but 10 years, yeah, I thought more of a fast track than that.
Yeah, maybe stick with what you're doing now. But look, Bobby, thanks so much for coming on Acting Prime Minister. Good luck with the campaign.
Thank you.
I hope it goes well for you. And we'll look forward to the debate that's happening in Parliament in July too.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you.